Back in the 15th century, women were only allowed to pursue art if they were extraordinarily wealthy and only until they were married. The female self-portrait is often meant to represent the woman's most intimate perspective of herself, how she truly sees herself. What's so incredible about this is that it can be as literal or as abstract as the artist wants it to be. It's such a personal form of expression that you'll never see two self-portraits that look the same or represent the same thing. Back in the 15th century, women were only allowed to pursue art if they were extraordinarily wealthy and only until they were married. The female self-portrait is often meant to represent the woman's most intimate perspective of herself, how she truly sees herself. What's so incredible about this is that it can be as literal or as abstract as the artist wants it to be. It's such a personal form of expression that you'll never see two self-portraits that look the same or represent the same thing. Author Leanna de Girolami Cheney describes it as, quote, an acknowledgement of worth, an exercise in technique, and a denominator of era, style, and likeness. It is a revelation and a confession. It can be a study in expression or a document in the history of aging. While art of a female nude is inherently objectifying, women can include agency in their own self-objectification. It's kind of the idea that if my beauty is going to be commodify my perspective of my beauty and the self, and that can look like anything. One of the most famous and influential female painters was none other than Mexican painter Frida Kahlo. She was incredibly well known for her colorful and oftentimes eccentric self-portraits. She famously said, "I paint my own reality." She was incredibly well known initially for being married to the famous painter Diego Rivera. They had a very tumultuous relationship, and it was a massive deal when they got divorced. However, this divorce was an incredible opportunity for Frida to explore more of herself, and was inspiration for much of her artwork during that period. One of my favorite paintings of hers is called Self-Portrait with Cropped Hair. In this painting, she's wearing a darkly colored masculine suit, which is a massive contrast to her typical style, and her hair has been cut and scattered around the floor, with the text above her translating to say, "See, if I loved you, it was for your hair. Now you're bald, I don't love you anymore." She was very well known for her long hair, her beautiful feminine outfits, and the colors she both wore and painted. These were things that both Diego Rivera and the public loved about Frida. This piece was created after her divorce, and it was kind of meant to be an insult to her ex-husband, but also to what society saw her as, showing she had more to her than just what people wanted. Frida Kahlo's success and her impact on the art world is immeasurable. When you think of a female artist, most people think about Frida, partially because of her incredible talent, but partially because there aren't actually many more, if any, female artists who achieved as much success. When you look at the numbers, Tanya Marmolejo Anderson shared in her TED Talk that compared to men, 75% of people who graduate from the arts, get degrees, and get scholarships are women. However, only about 13% of women ever get represented by a gallery, and only 2% are represented in the auction market. And mind you, half of those women are dead. Even though women make up just over 50% of the visual art world, female art still seems to be its own niche category for some reason. When included in books, articles, or collections, female artists are often made to be its own separate section. Even though that doesn't really make sense. Women make all kinds of art, but no matter how different their art may be, they get looped together because they're women. Ever since the beginning of the Renaissance period in art, to be a woman in art was nearly impossible. The art world is founded on the exclusion of women, which is why the culture has been fostered so female artists have had to work twice as hard for half the recognition. Female art is still seen, for whatever reason, as a niche category, when in reality it is incredibly far from it. The Oxford English Dictionary describes agency as the ability or capacity to act or exert power, which really is the key theme in understanding the difference between male portrayal of femininity and female portrayal of femininity. Female self-portraiture is founded on the ideas of the importance of agency and being able to execute your own power. It's what makes the category what it is, and it's what makes it so special and so inherently female. In examining femininity in art, while there are many differences between male and female artists, the biggest one is the historical perspective of agency. Male artists tend to portray women in a way that fits the contemporary patriarchal ideas of what beauty in a woman is, whereas women tend to have a much broader perspective of what that feminine beauty is and how it can be portrayed. Female artist self-expression serves as the opposite. They're portraits of not just the woman, but of her identity as well. Despite the fact that female self-portraiture is such a culturally rich genre of art, it's still incredibly underrepresented in the art world. Agency, however, is not only in the hands of the artist, but in the hands of the people. We need to learn how to show up for the art that we want to be celebrated and art that we feel celebrates us in return.